Guys, welcome to Koi Academy. Guys, in this video, we'll be talking about a very important concept in Marxian theory, and that is the theory of dialectical materialism. People often hear about this word, but they are not sure what does this mean. So, in this example, I will elaborate this concept with a very useful example, and then you will be in a very good position to explain this and reproduce it everywhere. So, remember, what is the meaning of dialectical? Dialectical means the literal meaning of the word is that opposing forces are acting on a certain thing. Okay, for example, you put forward a thesis, okay, and then somebody put forward an antithesis. So as a result of these two opposing forces, a new idea is born, and that is called synthesis. So once again, as opposed to synthesis, and somebody produces a new idea, and that is called antithesis. So the resulting idea, as a result of the synthesis and the new antithesis, is new synthesis. So that is what dialectical mean, okay? And what does materialism mean? Materialism mean is that those ideas, the synthesis of the ideas or the opposing ideas which we are talking about, they are all material in nature. By what do I mean by material? It means that how the factors of production are organized in a society. For example, what are factors of production? It is labor, which produces things. It is capital, from which you buy different machinery. It is land. So those are the factors which sort of act in an opposing force, and then the history moves forward. Okay, Marx's concept of history is that it is cyclical in nature. It's not like history is moving on a path, and it will continue to move on to higher forms and higher forms and higher forms. It will keep on the society will keep on getting more and more refined. No, that is not the case. Marx says that history is sort of in a circle. Okay, people are, let's suppose, at a particular point in time, then they move on and they move on. The society erodes, then it once again has a new system. So ultimately society keeps coming back at the same time. So Marxian concept of history is it's cyclical. Okay, now Marx said that before everything, when there were no societies, the system of economic production was of communism. That is, nobody owned the resources to the exclusion of others. Resources were owned by everybody. For example, the hunting and gathering societies, nobody owned the resources. So people shared the resources. So that Marx called it communes. Okay, that collective ownership of the property was there. But after that period, a system somehow of nobles and slaves, that is, slave system emerged in the ancient world. Okay, now as a result of that system, some people owned the means of production, factors of production, which were called the nobles, and those who did not own the factors of production, they only offered their labor. And in that system, in that ancient system, the slaves were owned, and they worked on the land which the nobles owned, and it produced goods and services which the people consumed. So that was the first system, first class based system. Okay, Marx is always talking about the clash between the classes, and that is what, according to Marx, moves the history forward. From ancient world, a new system developed called feudal system, in which there were lords, and that is essentially the medieval European system, in which there were lords and there were serfs. Okay, so serfs worked on the lands of the lords. Okay, so that was a feudal system. Once again, there was a conflict, and a new capitalist class, the bourgeoisie class, they found themselves with the new capital, and this new system of industrial society came into being. Okay, where there were two classes: bourgeoisie, who owned the factors of production, and proletariat, who did not own any factors of production and who only offered their labor. This is at that point Marx is living. Okay, Marx is living in an industrial society. Okay, so this is the point in time where Marx is right now. So he had seen the system of the ancient world where there were nobles and slaves. He had seen the feudal system. Right now he is observing the capitalist system of the modern industrial society, and he is foreseeing that this system will also collapse. Okay, in the system where the where the class that owns the means of production, that is bourgeoisie and the proletariat, once the proletariat, who are the oppressed class, they get a class consciousness that yes, we are the ones who are oppressed. Okay, right now Marx says that they did not know that they were being oppressed. Okay, they thought that it's all right, since they don't own the means of production, all they can do is that they have to work for it, work as laborers. But Marx said that no, that is not the case. Everybody should own the resources, and once the proletariat class they get a class consciousness, they collectively all the workers of the world unite and they realize that they are being exploited. Then the current capitalist system will be overthrown, and a new system of socialism and ultimately communism will take over, where there will be no proper where there will be no private property, private ownership of property, and all the resources, all the individuals will collectively own the means of production. So when the means of production will be collectively owned, nobody will be in a position, bargaining position, to make others do the work for him. Okay, so Marx says that the process started with communism and it will end with communism. Of course, Marx's ideas were very useful in defining the society, industrial society in which Marx lived, and his ideas very revolutionary in nature, and he brought forth a new perspective, and that's why he is still relevant. You pick up a course in gender studies, you pick up a course in psychology, sociology, everywhere you will see a touch of Marxian perspective. But somehow these ideas did not materialize. Capitalist system is still in place. There has to be some reasons why it is still in place. I mean, Marx he foresaw that the proletariat class will overthrow the capitalist class and a communist society will develop. But it did not. It did not develop. Why? Because over the passage of time, the capitalist system it sort of adapted itself, and it gave way to a new middle class and middle managerial workers who, once they performed better, they started receiving good salaries. Okay, they were not just receiving subsistence wages. Now you can see that executives of different companies, they do not own the capital. Okay, they don't own the companies, but they earn very big bucks. Okay, so of course when there is a system in place which, when workers can look up to a system where they know that if they work hard then they will get much more higher wages, and they don't be exploited, then there is no incentive for them to overthrow the system. So that is exactly what happened. The system offered the proletariat, the working class, some incentives. It was not like Marx had said that though in his time there were sweatshops and people had to work in horrible working conditions in the factories. The situation gradually improved with the ideas of independence, democracy, and all those things. So even right now, we don't see this capitalist system going anywhere because there are incentives. Of course, the gap between the rich and the poor, haves and have-nots, which the Marx discussed, is increasing. But this system also offers mobility, social mobility to the laborers. In the previous systems, for example, when there were nobles and slaves, when there were lords and serfs, the system did not offer social mobility. But now the current system, the capitalist system, has adapted itself, and it does offer social mobility. So people, revolution is not something, it's not something which is easily it does not happen easily. A lot of conditions have to be ripe for a revolution to take place, and the first and foremost is that the conditions need to be deplorable to Himalayan proportions. So that is not the case in the current capitalist system. People are making themselves well off. I mean, overall the living standard has improved. So these are the systems. These are the facts due to which the capitalist system is still intact. Okay. Moreover, the capitalist system also adapted the new nation state concept. The modern democracies, they are offering different social welfare programs. For example, child care, new legislation for the elders. So I guess the system has adapted. But once again, Marx provides you a very different perspective. It gives you a new perspective to look at how the relations of production are organized in a society. I guess you understood the concept of dialectical materialism. That is how it looks at the opposing classes, and how the history moves in a cyclical patterns as per Marx. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe.